Good morning, church. We're so glad you're here. I'd like to invite you guys to stand up and let's sing. I give you glory for all you've brought me through. And now I'm ready for whatever you want to do. I'm moving forward to follow after you. And now I'm ready for whatever you want to do. And now I'm ready for whatever you want to do. Your presence is an open door. We want you, Lord, like never before. Your presence is an open door. So come now, Lord, like never before. In every season, your grace has been enough. And I'm believing the best is yet to come. The cross before me, my hope on things above. And in you, Jesus, the best is yet to come. Sing your presence. Your presence is an open door. We want you, Lord, like never before. Your presence is an open door. So come now, Lord, like never before. I know the breakthrough is coming. By faith, I see a miracle. My God made me a promise and He won't stop now. I know the breakthrough is coming. By faith, I see a miracle. My God made me a promise and He won't stop now. I know breakthrough is coming. By faith, I see a miracle. My God made me a promise and He won't stop now. Your presence is an open door. We want you, Lord, like never before. Your presence is an open door. So come now, Lord, like never before. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? I see lightning, I hear thunder. Something stirring 6 feet under. Dead things coming back to life again. I believe there's about to be another resurrection. I see signs and I see wonders. I see bursts of living color. Dead things coming back to life again. I believe there's about to be another resurrection. Come alive, wake up, sleeper. He is risen. We are risen with him. Hallelujah, it is finished. See the grave, nobody in it. Dead things coming back to life again. I believe there's about to be another resurrection. Come alive, wake up, sleeper. He is risen. We are risen with him. Paradise flung wide open. He is risen. We are risen with him. Come alive, wake up, sleeper. He is risen. We are risen with him. Paradise flung wide open. He is risen. We are risen with him. If you see what I see, that the grave is empty, you know that I know anything is possible. If you see what I see, that the grave is empty, then you know what I know. Anything is possible. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? I see signs and I see wonder. Do you see what I see? I see lightning, I hear thunder. Do you see what I see? Something stirring 6 feet under. Come alive, wake up, sleeper. He is risen. We are risen with him. Paradise flung wide open. He is risen. We are risen with him.
Hello. All right, sorry about that. All right, you guys can go ahead and have a seat. Hope you guys are having a lovely Sunday morning. So happy that you guys are here with us at Church 180. That way we can go ahead, and have our communion and everything. But before that, inside of your bulletins, there will be a Connect card. I hope you guys have it. If you go ahead and take that out. In the Connect card, we want you to fill it out. That way we can go ahead and stay connected with you here at Church 180. It's the best way we can. Get you in the loop, get you in the know of everything. With that being said, what we also want to do is today we have a Discover 180 right here after service at 11:30. So we would love for you to be there. Childcare provided and food as well. So if you have not gone yet, we would love to hear you signed up. So if you can go inside the info center at the end of the service, we'll go ahead and get you connected that way. The last thing I want to talk about is offering. Offering is what fuels everything we do here, and it's your generosity that keeps us going. So I challenge you guys to give generously, and there's 3 easy ways to give. If you go online into our Give, you guys can go ahead and give digitally that way. Inside your bulletins, there's also an envelope for you guys to do as well. And you can also mail it to our P.O. box, which is also in the bulletin as well. So with that being said, hope you guys have a lovely Sunday, and you guys can go ahead and get ready for more worship.
worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. Lord, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Yes, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. and that is who you are. Yes, that is who you are, and that is who you are, and that is who you are, and that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are, and that is who you are. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Never stop, you never stop working. Never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working.
Nobody likes you. I can't even stand being around you. You're just not good enough. It's no wonder you don't have any friends.
I know you can't afford it, but you deserve it. Go get that car.
I hate seeing you like this. She's hurt you before, she's gonna do it again. It's time to leave.
I know you said you'd be home by 6. Just keep working. They'll understand.
Guys, I have a date tonight. Third workout of the day. Now that's cute. You are never gonna be as good as those girls, because they're way better than you.
How we doing? Hey, welcome to week 4 of this series, The Stories That We Tell Ourselves. And what we've said every single week is that we all have stories that we tell ourselves, right? And they're stories that we tell ourselves in order to maybe make us feel better, stories that we actually believe, and it's our perception of what's going on. And honestly, sometimes we tell ourselves these stories to protect ourselves. But one of the things that we've talked about throughout this series is that sometimes that can be helpful, but other times it can be very detrimental to the way that we live our lives, the actions that we take, and the way that we love people in our lives. And so every single week we've got up here and we said, hey, there's some stories that we tell ourselves. And the first week we said that we talked about the story of identity. And we're going to go a little bit there today. And then the second week, Ricky got up here and he talked about the story of patience. And last week I talked about the story of trust. And today we are going to talk about the story of love. Okay? And so just, show of hands real quick. You don't have to. I'm going to ask you to. We all kind of think we're pretty loving people, don't we, generally? Like, right? Nobody here's like, well, I'm a grump and I don't love well, or I hate people, or nobody, right? Okay? So we all generally, the story that we tell ourselves is that we have good intentions, and that we generally are a loving person when push comes to shove. And the thing I want to explore today is whether that's reality for us or whether that is just a story that we tell ourselves. Okay, I got a picture that I want to bring up on the slide, and I know that we're outside in the sun, and we'll be out here for a couple more weeks and stuff. But can we bring the eye chart up, Ryan? Perfect. Anybody familiar with the eye chart right here? Okay, my first run-in with this eye chart that I can remember, I always had it growing up and everything, and I was a kid with bad allergies, so I guess I rubbed my eyes a lot. And there was one driver's test that I needed to do, my early 20s, something like that. And I remember rocking up to this small little DMV, nothing like the California ones, but this small little DMV, and it was just kind of me and the one person behind the thing because it was a town of like 9,000 people. And I'm doing like the eye chart test, and I'm like, oh no. Because, they do the whole right eye, left eye kind of thing. And I could see everything crystal clear with my left eye, and my right eye could not see anything but the top line. And they're like, I'm sorry, sir, we cannot give you your license today. I'm not going to tell you how I passed the last time. You can talk to me later. but they sent me to an optometrist, okay? So I go to an optometrist, and I'm sitting before the optometrist and doing the whole thing, and they're like, hey, buddy, like, your left eye sees really good, but according to what's going on in your right eye, like, do you not experience headaches? I was like, no, I'm good. They're like, yeah, you can't see in your right eye. Like, you are, like, and they ended up passing me to, like, not have to wear a contact while driving, but they ended up giving me this pair of glasses. I've never updated them or anything. They're like 10 years old now. And the reason I haven't is because this lens right here is, okay, this is like a piece of glass, and this lens right here was $600 10 years ago. Because it should be like this thick, but they've reduced it down to like this little bitty lens. And I asked Tim to put it on earlier, and Tim put the glasses on earlier. It's like, this is an immediate headache. But the reality is I have this condition. It's called keratoconus in my right eye. And what that is it's a stigmatism on steroids. Like, you can't get LASIK for this one. Like, this is like a transplant kind of thing. And they're like, but they're like, somehow miraculously your brain has rewired itself to where you can see 20/25 with both eyes, and that doesn't make any sense, but the brain doesn't make any sense to us either. So you're good, and we'll pass you in the whole thing. And so now every time I have to get my license renewed, I have to see an optometrist again to do the whole thing. I tell you that to tell you this, is that sometimes many of us, we view ourselves as a loving person, but the way that we view that is a little distorted, isn't it? It's got a little distortion to it. It's got like a kind of a stigmatism going on. Because sometimes we, the love that we give and the love that we share is love that's distorted in the sense that it's based on the worth that we value or the worth that we give to that person. Based on a lot of different things. It can be based on gender. It can be based on identity. It can be based on race. It can be based on ethnicity. It can be based on how much money you have in your bank account. It can be based on what kind of car you drive. It can be based on what kind of political leanings you have. But all of a sudden we see these people through a distorted viewpoint, and we assign love and assign value based on a distorted viewpoint, right? And so then the question is are we really loving, or is it a story that we're telling ourselves? See, but I've given you my secret. I have a distorted view, like literally. But we're talking spiritual things. But some people, any of my nearsighted friends in here today? Anybody nearsighted, right? Yeah, we got some nearsighted people. They give you glasses, right? Because with nearsighted people, I have it in my lens, I always forget. With nearsighted people, you can see fine up close, right? And the reality is, for some of us, our love, carried over in the spiritual sense, our love is good up close, right? We feel like, all the people in our little sphere and all the people in our little circumstance and family, and maybe it's our family life, or maybe it's our friends and colleagues, and we can't see beyond these people. And we can't see that there is a hurting world out there that also needs our love. We can't see the fact that, like, there are literally 800 million people that are going to go to bed hungry tonight in the world. And we can't see that there's people being bought and sold into sex trafficking all over this world and right under our noses right here. And because the reality is we put on the love glasses and everything is good up close, but it's not good out far. But who really cares about out far? Because who really needs a worldview to begin with? Because everything is good in my little nearsighted world. You get what I'm saying, right? And then the question is are we really loving? Or is this a story that we're telling ourselves? And we got some far-sighted friends, right, too? Got some far-sighted friends in here. You can see at a distance, but you can't see up close, right? And I think spiritually speaking, to our far-sighted friends, it's kind of like I can see everything that's wrong with everybody else. But as Jesus says, I can't see the speck of sawdust in my own self, and I don't pray, God, search me and see my ways and see if there's anything in me that you need to change, Lord. And we don't have those prayers because we just see everything that's wrong with everybody else all over the world and all over our circle, and we're like, well, I'm better than them, right? And we can be spiritually farsighted. And then the question comes back again, are we really loving? Or is that just a story that we're telling ourselves? And I think a lot of that can lead to, I'm gonna put away my expensive glasses for a second. I'm going to hand them to my wife so I don't break them. If that's okay. Here you go, honey. But I think sometimes, right, we can put on the shades, right? And we can, with our love, we can have blind spots, right? And we can have areas that we're love, like generally we're loving in all these different areas, but like with me, I'm just going to be personal confession moment for a second. Church planning is hard. Everything in my life's breaking right now, like my vehicles and my bike and everything. And my kids make me grumpy, really grumpy. And I can snap at them. And I got to have people in my life that I confide in. They can be like, Tony, like, that's not okay. Like, you can't just go love your church. You can't just go love people. You can't just go love whatever and not love your kids. That's a blind spot that you need to see and you need to fix. And I would say, man, for all of us, when it comes to the story of love in our lives, we need people in our lives that can speak into it and be like, man, you're pretty good in some of these areas, but here's one of the things that I see in you that's a blind spot. That you can look over. I mean, Jesus was always talking to people about blind spots, right? He called the religious leaders of the day, the Pharisees, he called them blind guides, right? He was like, you don't even know where to go. You don't even see where to go, and you're leading other people in this blind direction. Like this, you're like a blind guide leading these people. And see, actually physically one day, Jesus healed the way the story went, Jesus healed a man who was born blind, right? And he did this, and he healed this man that was born blind. But the religious leaders, when we call them the blind guides, the religious leaders saw this happening, and they couldn't get outside of their box, okay? Because Jesus, get this, he did it on the Sabbath. And I know you're like, well, who cares? I do everything on the Sabbath, whatever. But Jesus did it on the Sabbath, and so at the time the religious leaders were like, you can't do that on the Sabbath. And Jesus is like, get outside of yourselves for a second. You're a blind guide. Like, you don't get that this person's well-being, this person's seeing, this person's whatever. Like this is what's supposed to happen. But you're so blind to like your legalism, and you're so blind to your rules, and you're so blind to your laws that you're missing what is happening in front of you. Helen Keller said this, and it's going to be on the screen. She said this, eyes that cannot see might be healed, but eyes that will not see cannot be helped. Dang, that's profound, isn't it? I just got to say, eyes that cannot see might be healed, but eyes that will not see cannot be helped. And I think that's one of the reasons why a self-righteous heart is one of the most dangerous things of all spiritual conditions, is to think that we're okay when we're really not okay. And the last kind of, well, these aren't the last glasses, but I'll put on these for. I couldn't find mine at the house, so I had to order these on Amazon for $2. Okay, but you guys know what these are, right? Do I look like a doofus with these things on? But they're the safety glasses, right? They're protective glasses. And this is a love, this is a spiritual condition, this is a love that is love, but has conditions. Because as long as I'm safe, as long as I'm protected, as long as I'm comfortable, and as long as I'm in my little sphere, I will love. But don't ask me to jump into the mess. Don't ask my family to jump into the mess, and don't ask me to do anything risky. And that's this kind of love. And I think it really, 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 really falls short of the love that Jesus has called us to and the love that we're going to talk about today. And then the question is, if we have our safety glasses on with our love, are we really loving, or is this a story that we're telling ourselves? See, I think that this, okay, I'm going to be cheesy for a second, if that's all right, and I took this idea off somebody else, and I stole this idea off somebody else. I'm going to be cheesy for a second. But the love that I want to talk about today, if I can be cheesy, is a 3D kind of love. Okay, anybody got some of these? I got some left over if you want a pair afterwards and stuff. You can't just order these in one. Like, it's like $3 for 12. And so I got some in my backpack, but we got a 3D type of love. And the reality is that the way that the story that Jesus ushered in, okay, the story that Jesus told, the story that Jesus introduced, the who he was in his love and who he modeled was 3D. And I'm going to talk about 3Ds today, that love is, but it was 3D in the sense that it was vivid. It was so vivid. It was so life-giving, and it was so revolutionary and changed the world once, and I believe that it can do it again. So we're going to talk about 3Ds when it comes to our love today, and the first one is this. Love is a decision. It's a decision. Okay? And I know that forever Hollywood's fed us, this stuff. We've got music. I tend to think that Hollywood's kind of picked up on this and passed the torch off to the Hallmark Channel and the Up Channel, right? Because like Hollywood doesn't produce the feel-good stuff, feeling stuff anymore, but the Hallmark Channel does. But right, we're like trained to think that love's a feeling. That it's a feeling. And I mean, and especially the music that we have, right? You got like Ed Sheeran's like, I'm dancing in the dark with you between my arms. You look perfect tonight. We got John Legend, All of Me Loves All of You. We got Katy Perry, just because it's over doesn't mean it's really over. And if I think it over, maybe you'll be coming over again. And you get it. Like, you get it. Like, we are conditioned to believe that we know what love is. But I think according to the scriptures, we see that love is a decision. I was thinking about it this week, and I mean, it's cool that we're preaching this right after Valentine's Day, right? And I don't know if you remember, like, I got to live through my kids again this week because Valentine's Day got them going, okay? And so Kelsey got on, what was it, Lakeshore Oriental Trading, one of those sites, and bought them all these Valentines, and they were pretty cheap. But I loved my daughter Ruthie's Valentine's cards because they had this little cutout with a magnifying glass that you put in it. And so she was so pumped to give everybody these little magnifying glasses. And the card, the little Valentine's card said, "I've got my eye on you." I loved it. It was good. And they were so pumped to give these things out this week. And I don't know about you. I don't know if you remember giving out Valentines and receiving them when you were younger or whatever. But there comes to be a time, and I'm scared of this moment, but there comes to be a time around, it's not, she's in third grade right now, but there comes to be a time, probably fourth or fifth grade, whenever you give that card out, and to maybe a person or two, you really mean it, right? Like, and maybe it's third grade, I don't know, but you really mean it. And I'm like, oh, dang. Because I remember, I gave out my fair share of Valentines and whatever, and had my fair share of girlfriends and stuff like that throughout, middle school and high school and everything like that. And then in college, I met Kelsey, and I thought I knew what love was, And then, the longer we're married, the more I'm like, man, I love you. And I think I know what love is. And I remember it was July 18th in 2013, and I've talked about this a million times and everything. But Ruthie came into the world, and then in that moment that we had our first child, I was like, man, I think I know what love is. And I felt it, but over the course of time, what we know is that love is a feeling. It comes with a feeling, but it's a continual choice. And it's a continual decision that I got to make. And decision that we got to make. And Jesus gives us these warning. I mean, I read this and I'm like, man, this is scary. He said this in Matthew chapter 24, verse 12. He said, because of the increase of wickedness, and he's speaking into our times. He's speaking into the future. He's prophesying with this. But Jesus says, because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most people is going to grow cold. It's going to grow cold. And so literally what Jesus is saying is this. Okay, I need you to hear me. What Jesus is saying, as time goes on, okay, as we progress another month, as we progress another, year, as we progress into the future, the love of most will grow cold. What he is meaning is that as a society, over time, if we are not extremely careful and make a decision and a choice, that we will become more and more and more self-absorbed and self-centered and incapable of real deciding love that he's talking about. And I don't think we got to look too far to see that is becoming and has become a reality in much of our world, isn't it? And Jesus warned us. He said, because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most people will grow cold. More and more people will become self-absorbed and self-centered in their love. And see, like, I have this quote, and the early Christians, man, like, and they didn't get everything right. And I know that sometimes at church we make it sound like they nailed everything and they were just, like, perfect. But I think coming from Jesus, okay, coming from the words of Jesus, and then the way that we see through history the first 300 years of the church unfold, it is astounding. And it is remarkable what they were able to accomplish through love in the first 300 years. There was this guy named Aristides who in 137, he captured this. It's not going to be on the screens. It's not going to be on your notepad, but I need you to tune in with me. And this is what he said about the early Christians. And he was a historian. He documented what was going on in the early church at the time. And he was capturing this. He said this. He said, they do not keep for themselves the goods entrusted to them. They don't covet what belongs to others. They show love to their neighbors. They do not need to do to another what they would not have done to themselves. They speak gently to those who oppress them, and in this way they make them their friends. It's become their passion to do good to their enemies. They live in the awareness of their smallness, and every one of them who has anything gives ungrudgingly to the one who has nothing. If they see a traveling stranger, they bring him under their roof. They rejoice over him as a real brother, for they do not call one another brothers after the flesh, but they know that they are brothers in God. If they hear that one of them is imprisoned or oppressed for the sake of Christ, they take care of all of his needs. If anyone among them is poor or comes into want while they themselves have nothing to spare, they fast for 2 or 3 days for him, and in this way they can supply any poor man with the food that he needs. This, O emperor, is the rule of life of the Christians, and this is their manner of life. And they did not even have a Bible to go after. They didn't have a Bible reading plan. They didn't have a journal that they opened up that they took notes on or anything. They had the literal words of Jesus passed down and implanted into their hearts. And with those words of Jesus, where Jesus told them to go and do likewise, and to go and to love, and to go and to love God and to love your neighbor. And with these words, they went out and changed the world. So many historians have said there's nothing that makes sense about the early church. There's nothing that makes sense outside of their love. Like everything, you know, the way that they were beat, the way that they were in prison, the way that they were sawn in two, the way that they were fed to lions, the way that they were, you know, captured and thrown into the arena and the Colosseum in different places, like any other faith would have been stamped out, but the love that was in their hearts was burning. And it was a choice that they made through the commands of Jesus that changed the world. I think they have internalized what Paul said in Galatians chapter 5, verse 6, where Paul said this. He said, the only thing that counts in this life, the only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. The only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. I was thinking about this week because we did a series to kick off this new year called, we called Your Best Year Yet. Okay? And a lot of that I explained was taken from just some personal goals that I have for this year, and trying to impart and just say, hey, it's time to really take stock of our lives and see what matters this year, and take small incremental steps to reach our goals and to live our best year yet spiritually, is what we talked about. But then check out this verse, okay? This is also what Paul writes to the Corinthians in chapter 1 Corinthians 14, or verse 1. He says, let love be your highest goal. So he tells the church in Corinth, he says, let love be your highest goal. And I kind of rocked me this week, just kind of thinking about it. And it's like, man, it did not make the top of my charts this year. Maybe we need to put it there. He says, let love be your highest goal. So love is a decision. Love is a decision. But get this, love is also a demonstration. So the second thing is this. It's a decision, but it's also a demonstration. I'm going to put my middle daughter on the spot for a second. I love, my middle daughter has such a beautiful heart in so many ways. And I could tell story after story of things that she's done that is her demonstrating her love. But she, it was about a year back, we were at this birthday party. And it was out in our front grassy area and everything like that. And there's a bunch of 1-year-olds and 1.5-year-olds wandering around. And there was this kid that had come to the party who was, I think, 4 at the time. and clearly didn't know anybody. The family didn't know anybody or anything like that. And Jenny, okay, is pretty adept and aware, and Jenny had noticed that this 4-year-old girl had no one to play with and didn't fit in. And so she disappeared, and she went up into her room, and she got some toys that she thought would be appropriate for this 4-year-old, and she's 6 at the time, you know. And she comes downstairs, and she makes it her mission to see that this 4-year-old is included in the party. See, and I was, I'm proud of her. That's really cool. But that's love. I mean, that's a 4-year-old, 6-year-old version of it, but that's love. I mean, love is so much more than a feeling. It's so much more than a decision. Love is a demonstration. It is in action and in motion. I love this. Romans chapter 12, verse 9, Paul says, don't just pretend to love others, but really love them. Really love them. And I mean, Jesus talked about this, right? I mean, Jesus nailed this home. Like, you probably know the story of the Good Samaritan. If you don't, let me just recap for a second. But we get this story from Jesus in the Bible of the Good Samaritan, which is a super offensive story because the people that he told it to would have hated Samaritans, and they didn't like him. And so Jesus is like, okay, there's a man that's on the road to Jericho at the time, okay? And he gets beaten and robbed and left for dead on the side of the road. And there's 3 people that pass by this guy, okay? 3 people. The first guy is a priest, okay? So he should be practicing what he's preaching. He should be putting, his money where his mouth is. But he's too busy, okay? So he sees this half-beaten, robbed dude on the side of the road, and he's like, man, I got more important things to tend to. And so he goes and he tends to his stuff. Next guy that comes through, Levite, okay? And so, these are God's, the tribe, and he's, they're revered and they're religious and whatever, and the Levite comes by, and he's like, man, I got places to be. I'm sorry, dude. I wish you well, but I'm off. And the final guy comes through, right? And he's the hated Samaritan, the dirty Samaritan. They didn't like him because of ethnicity. They were kind of like these half-breeds of Gentiles and Jews, and they weren't pure in the bloodline, so they were like, these Samaritans they're no good. And Jesus is like, yeah, but that Samaritan, you know what he did? He bandaged the guy up, got him back up on his feet, took him to a hotel, paid the tab, paid for the medical bill, and said, hey, if there's anything else, make sure you send that bill to me and you give a report to me. And he said, which one of these do you think is the neighbor? Which one of these do you think is loving your neighbor? And they're like, yeah, it's that Samaritan guy. It's that guy. And Jesus said, go and do likewise. Because love is a demonstration. It's a demonstration. Hey, I stumbled across, I was preparing this week, and I stumbled across this poem that I want to read you guys real quick. And I was looking for the origin of it, but we've got some influence from this series from a certain church up in LA, Real Life Church, and a guy named Mike Bro talked about, and as far as I can tell, he wrote this poem, and it's too good not to share, so I'm going to share it with you guys real quick. But he said this, and think about the story of the man on the road to Jericho while I read this, because I think this is really good and puts us on the spot. He said, the kitchen smells like supper, and the table's ready waiting, and someone says they thought that we ought to pray before we ate. And would I thank the Lord for all he has so bountifully bestowed, but please don't pray too long because the meat is getting cold. On the other side of town, a mother sets another table for herself and several children just as well as she is able, but there's not too much because last night's man, he didn't pay so well. Will there be enough for breakfast? Well, it's really hard to tell. Am I passing by the man beside the road to Jericho? Have I cruelly snubbed the woman there as to the well I go? Am I my brother's keeper? A cup of water, did you say? Is the 2nd mile outside my door or somewhere down the way? The news is over there. Now there's football on another station. When at the door appears my aunt and half of our relation, and we all remark how nice to have the family here this way. It's our love that binds us oh so close. We love to always stay. But in a dark and dingy room, a young girl eyes the walls around her, and she wonders if one soul would care if in 2 weeks they found her. All her life she's been rejected, never had an honest friend. Is it life or mere existence? Who would care if it should end? Am I passing by the man beside the road to Jericho? Have I cruelly snubbed the woman there as to the well I go? Am I my brother's keeper? A cup of water, did you say? Is the 2nd mile outside my door or somewhere down the way? The family's gone, it's quiet, and the bed's soft beneath me, but instead of sleep and dreams, my restless thoughts creep up to meet me, and somewhere in the distance I hear hungry children cry, and a girl unloved, uncared for brings a tear into my eye. If people saw me weeping, well, they'd think that I was mad. I'd tell them it's a nightmare, the dream I dreamed was bad. I must gain my self-control because tomorrow's Sunday school, and so, bloodshot eyes on a Sunday morning, folks would talk a lot, you know. If a man loves his brother, he is able now to see that he makes himself a liar when he says that he loves me. Little children, it's not thoughts or words that prove your love for all. If your love is not an action, then it isn't love at all. I thought that was good. I thought it was really good. I was kind of thinking about some of this stuff, and I don't have a story of myself to tell yet, but I've heard it before from a pastor named Andy Stanley. And he tells a story at the beginning of one of his messages, I don't know, several years ago, and it has always stood out to me because there's that scripture in 1 John 4 that says, if anyone says that they love God yet hates their brother or hates another person, then they are a liar. And that's what that passage says in 1 John chapter 4. And Andy Stanley tells this story, and I'll have one of my own at some point, but he tells this story about being at a baseball game. And his kid was up to bat, and the umpire had called some bad calls, against his kid. And how this fan from behind him was like, just came unglued up against the chain link fence, just like, no, that's, you yelling at the umpire, doing the whole thing. And he was like, I love that person. And you know why? Because they stuck up for my kid. And he said the same is inadvertently true. If you tear my kid down, you can't tell me you love me. You can't tell me that you'll buy me nice things. You can't bribe me. You hate my kid or you show disrespect to my kid, you're on my bad list. You just are. And see, take that back, guys. Take that back to first week, story of identity. And we talked about how our identity, first and foremost, is that we are children of God. But the thing that we need to see through that lens is that the people that we lock eyes with on a day in and day out basis, that we live with, work with, that we just do life with, these people are also children of God. And if we hate them, if we do not show love to them, we're not okay with God. And there's nothing we can do. There's no song we can sing. There's no prayer we can pray. God says, love your brothers and sisters. Let my love flow through you. Love is a demonstration. The third D and the final thing is this, is that love is the difference. It is. If you got my email, it's trying to be a little cheesy, tongue-in-cheek, this week, talking about love is the real superpower, It's not the United States of America. It's not like how many nuclear bombs you have or whatever, or how we could, end everything all over the world. Like literally the thing that can change the face of this earth more than anything, and I think it's because Jesus ushered it in this way, is the love of his followers. It's the most powerful thing that we have. I was kind of thinking some thoughts about this week. Well, you guys know, if you've been to a wedding or funeral, or a wedding, you've probably heard, if I speak the tongue of men and angels, if I have not love, I give all my money to the poor, and I don't have love, become a martyr for the faith, and I don't have love, then we're just like an obnoxious noise, a gong or a clashing cymbal. See, genuine love is the difference in this world. See, and I was kind of thinking of this message, and it made me think, like, our Alpha group, the Alpha videos that we watch are so powerful. And they ended one of the ones a couple weeks ago with the story of Corrie ten Boom. Has anybody heard of Corrie ten Boom? Anybody? Cool. And they ended with that. If you haven't heard of Corrie ten Boom, I just want to share, because I think this is what Jesus is talking about. Okay? So Corrie ten Boom, she was a part of a house in the Netherlands, and she was part of a house that was helping to basically hide some of the Jews at the time to be found and taken to concentration camps. And so in her bedroom, there was actually like a cutout wall where they would like hide people when they would do raids. and stuff. And so her family, get this, they helped over 800 Jews. 800 people find their way out of concentration camps and the brutality, but eventually they were found out, and their house was raided, and her family was taken off to be tortured and to be put in concentration camps. Her dad didn't make it very long and was killed and died, and so she specifically went to a concentration camp with her sister at the time and got to watch her sister die over the course of several weeks. And she recalls specifically, being stripped and walking across this area and seeing this specific guard that was just the vision of him was impressed into her heart and impressed into her mind, and she carried that with her. And so she eventually, like through a clerical error, she got released. Okay, and she was a passionate follower of Jesus, and she had this talk on forgiveness that she would do all over the place, and she would preach, and she would talk about forgiveness, and she would compel people. But she recalls this time that she got up to give her message on forgiveness, and afterwards, the guard that was responsible for everything walked up to her, and she saw it. She saw him, okay, and hatred swept over her body. Like just absolute, like, you killed my sister. I walked in front of you like this, and you tried to start, like, just, these feelings as she saw. And the guy came out and extended his hand, and he said, I'm a follower of Jesus now. And I just want to ask you to forgive me for everything that we did. And she was like, nah, I can't do this. She kept her hand back. And she felt the Spirit of God. She felt Jesus nudge her and say, just reach your hand out. Just reach your hand out. And she reaches her hand out. And as their hands connected, she felt the Holy Spirit flooding through her body, through that handshake, and said, I can't forgive you, but God is forgiving you through me right now. I'm not able to do this. But through God, I can, he's like, brother, I forgive you completely and love you completely. Not because it's what I can do, but because it's what God is doing through me. And she said this, she said, when he tells us to love our enemies, he gives along with the command, the love itself. Do you catch that? He gives along with that command the love itself. And here's the story I think we tell ourselves about love, if I can be really honest with you. We think that we're generally loving people because we are really good at loving people that are easy to love. That's it. Right? And I think the love that Jesus is walking us into and the story that he's trying to bring us back to is to say our love, if we are ever going to change the world, if we are ever going to make a difference, if we are ever going to see the difference, it has to be beyond that level. It has to move into, I think the next level up is love the people that are annoying. And then it's like love the people that, are a little bit more than annoying. And then love the people that are hard to love. And then it's love the people who hurt you a little bit, right? Maybe not that deeply, but they said that offensive comment to you. And then not take the notches all the way up to Corrie ten Boom, okay? And I'm going to stand before you and say, I'm not sure I could practice what I preach. And that if I was Corrie ten Boom, I'm not sure that I could extend my hand. If we were talking about this in our group, and it's like, man, like, I'm not endorsing this book for theology purposes or anything like that, or to get your picture of God, but I remember reading The Shack, like 10 years ago or whatever, that book, and maybe some of you guys have seen the movie and stuff like that, and I'm like, I'm not sure I could come to that point of forgiveness from the narrative of that story. I'm not sure. But I do believe what Corrie ten Boom says, where he says he gives along with the command the love itself. So I think the question that we need to be asking this week is this, is am I a loving person in like levels 1, 2, and 3? Or am I a loving person up to level 7? Or even a Corrie ten Boom 10? Because I think he gives us the love with the command. And the reality is this, is that I wrote it this way. We're a people who understand that we are loved so deeply, and then we carry that into our relationships with other people. It starts with understanding how loved we are, and then we carry that into the world around us. And it was written this way. I mean, we're moving into a time of communion. The band can kind of come up. But that's really what communion reminds us of, isn't it? I mean, we take communion a lot of different ways, you know, here at Church 180. We talk about a lot of different things, but when it comes to this, you should have received a little juice and a little bread that comes in as you came in. And the bread just or the cracker represents the body of Jesus that was broken, and the juice just represents the blood of Jesus that was spilled out. And it is a reminder of how deeply you are loved. So that you cannot go into this world and just love people who are easy to love. But so that you can go into this world and love people beyond who are easy to love. And you can carry that, and that you can know that because of Jesus doing this, you can go and be the difference in your love. So I'm going to pray for communion, and we're going to take that at any point during this next song that you have. If you didn't get it, you can still go get it back at that door right there during the song and take it as well with us. So Jesus, may we be men and women, God, who know how deeply loved we are. And God, may we decide, may we demonstrate, and may we be the difference based on how deeply we are loved, Lord. May we carry that into the world. And may it make all the difference, Lord. May more and more people turn toward hope in you. Because the story that we're telling ourselves about our love is real. So it's in your name we pray, Jesus. Amen.